Thanks for joining us, Deanna.
Thanks for having me, Phil. Hi, everyone. Deanna Klein here in the Anton Ceramic Studio. Welcome. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm just going to do some demonstrations on how to throw a basic cup on the pottery wheel. And then I'm just going to go into maybe a little bit of surface decoration. We'll try to put a handle on something. If you have any questions or comments as we're doing the video, please go ahead and comment on Facebook, anywhere that you can comment, and then we'll have people read them off so that I can answer the questions for you. Okay, so we can kind of be a little more interactive here. All right, so I'm starting out with, this is about 1.5 pounds of terracotta clay. So this clay is made locally in Ann Arbor. It's a really nice, smooth clay. I know some people who work at the art center and the ceramic studio know and love it. So fired to a nice dark chocolate brown color, which is really nice. Okay. All right, so the first step here is I'm going to center the clay. I want to use a good amount of water and a good amount of speed with the wheel. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it so that the clay doesn't wobble anymore. So you can kind of see the clay is going like this a little bit, doing a little dance. So we want to get it so it's nice and centered in the middle of the wheel. This is one of the hardest steps in wheel throwing. And what I'm doing right now is I'm really contracting my stomach muscles, and I'm using the muscles in my hands to make sure that clay is all going right in the center of the wheel and not wobbling. So this is kind of, you want to take your time doing this. Do not rush this part. You're going to get better over time. So for those of you who have wheels at home or you're looking forward to getting back to here, you just have to practice this part. There's no easy way around it. You just have to keep doing it over and over again. All right. So you can really tell when it's centered, when it kind of just gets quiet. It doesn't really have tons of movement to it. Sometimes when you're looking at the clay, it looks like it's still wobbling. But if you just hold on to the clay and close your eyes, you can tell it really doesn't have much of a wobble to it and much movement. That's what I mean when I say it gets quiet. One with the clay. I'm going to go into the center. So this is creating the inside and bottom of the pot. So I don't want to go all the way down to what we call the back. We would have a drainage instead of a vessel that holds liquid. All right, I'm going to take my pin tool here and just check the bottom. So I'm just checking to see how thick the bottom is, and you want it to be about 1/4 inch, which that's what it is. We're going to cover up that hole, and then we're going to continue to form the inside of the pot here. So next step, I'm just going to pull open towards 6 o'clock here. And I'm pushing that clay right into my palm. Even though we centered the clay already, you have to work the whole time to keep the clay centered. All right, just get some water out here. So I formed the inside of the pot, and I'm just going to recompress the bottom. So I just want to go back and forth. I like to recompress the bottom going back and forth at least 10 times. So what I try to do is just kind of zone out, think about something else, and just make sure it's nice and compressed. And we want to make sure we do that so we don't have any cracking in the drying process or when we fire it in the kiln. All right, that looks good. Make sure the bottom's nice and flat. And then we're going to go on to the next step, which is pulling up. Guys, talk to me.
What's the next step you're going to do?
I'm going to pull up here. So I want to start at the bottom. I like to keep my arms tucked into my body. This is so that I have like chicken wings and I'm not just kind of see with arms to my body and really lean into it so that I can keep my hands nice and steady. And I'm really dictating where the clay is going here. So I'm just gonna start at the bottom and start to pull up. So that's a pull. And what I'm doing is thinning out the walls, trying to make that clay go. Well, in this case, I'm gonna try to go more vertical. Actually, I kind of forgot what I was making. I made the bottom a little bit wide. So if it, yeah, it's gonna be more soup mug maybe. Although everyone has their size mug and shape too.
Could be
I
for porridge.
personally, yeah, or like a French onion soup maybe.
Yeah.
I personally like a very small mug. I'm a small mug lady. I think it's really like my coffee or whatever to stay nice and hot. All right, so I'm gonna go back down to the bottom here. And pull up. So once I've pulled up, I'm just gonna pinch the lip and recompress it. So this is called recompressing the lip. It's also called recenter. So as I mentioned before, a lot of times you'll get where the clay starts to get knocked off center again. You can just recompress the lip and that'll usually bring it back. It's a nice habit to get into. Wheel throwing is all about repetition. When you first start throwing, you really want to not worry about keeping a whole bunch of clay so that you can just practice. You're gonna get better every time. Might get a little worse for a week and then you'll get better again. All right, so I have a little air bubble here. That. It won't be a problem. Pulls here, starting at the bottom of that clay, bringing it up. Nice and slow, but not too slow, and then recompressing the lip again. Now we can start to shape. Is it 5 minutes past already? Time flies.
7 you're in, so good.
Wow. Okay. I want to be able to show everyone as much as possible here. All right, starting at the bottom again and just going all the way up. I can feel that air bubble, so I just want to be aware of that. And then I start to shape here. So you can kind of see that from my fingers going up the side of the pot, there's something that we call throwing rings. Some people absolutely love throwing rings on their pieces. And some people like to get rid of them. So if you like a nice smooth surface, something like this, you're going to take what we call a rib. We have a rubber rib here. And I'm just going to hold it up next to the side of the pot and just make sure that it's nice and straight and it has no throwing rings. So start at the bottom. On the inside is what I'm pushing. And I'm pushing out towards the rib. And this gives you a nice, straight, smooth cylinder. So what I really like about a nice smooth surface like this is that you can do a lot of surface decoration on it. So I do have the start of a piece here that I will carve into, but it lends itself for a nice canvas so that you can kind of do whatever you want to it. So this is terracotta clay with a white underglaze over it. And I just painted it on and then let it dry, and then I'll carve into it and show you how it reveals the clay color underneath it.
How long does it have to dry before you can paint it?
So it just depends on the weather, so how humid it is, how thick you apply the underglaze. I kind of applied it a little bit more painterly where you can see the brush strokes and it's not covered evenly, which is what I was going for. I really love the color of the clay body, so I was trying to highlight that. So it just depends. I put it in front of the fan for a little bit. All right, so I finished this piece, but I want to do a couple little finishing things. You always want to make sure you pay attention to the lip of the piece. This is what's going to go potentially to your mouth if you're drinking out of it. It's also closest to your eyes, so you happen to look at it, whether you notice or not, you look at it first. So you want to make sure that the lip is nice and rounded. I have just a little piece of chamois here. And I just want to go over the top. Make sure this is rounded. And then the last thing we're gonna do is take our stick tool, made by one of our Anton Art Center ceramic students, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Made all of these for us by hand. Nice little stick tool. And then you're just gonna go in and trim up the bottom. So there's actually quite a few more steps to finishing a piece of pottery on the wheel. You have to let it dry for a bit so it gets the leather hard state. That also depends on the weather and temperature of the room and how much water you added to your clay while you're throwing. How you dry it out, you can put it in front of a fan. I personally like to slow dry things, but then what you do is turn it over upside down and you put it back on the wheel, and then you would trim the bottom to make the bottom nice and
So that looks like it's a pretty large mug right now, cup, but it's gonna shrink, isn't it?
yes. Thank you for bringing that up, Phil. So yes, our this particular clay body shrinks, I think it's like 10.4%. So what that means is right now there's tons of moisture in it, and all the molecules are spread out. Once it dries and then goes into the kiln, which is fired up to about 1800 degrees, all of the water will be gone and it'll shrink down about 9% at that point, and then we actually fire it twice. So we'll glaze it, fire it again, and then ultimately it'll be about 10.5% that it'll shrink down. So I'm trying to think what I could put, like, this size here probably shrink, like it shrinks about 1/2 inch, I would say.
5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes left. We're gonna do so much. Okay, Erin's gotta come and say hi. And also, I need to do a shout out real fast to my sister in California.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Laura.
And I need to say hi to my mom too. Okay, so I'm gonna show real fast just how to apply this slip.
Should I pull a handle for the mug?
Yeah, pull a handle. Erin's gonna pull a handle. Wherever you want. We have 5 minutes. Ah, move that. Okay.
Why is it called slip? Is it slippery?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually an underglaze, which is very similar to a slip, but it's just a little bit more complicated of a recipe. So this is just a white slip, and I'm gonna add it with our favorite brushes here at the studio called Hake brushes, natural fibers. So as I mentioned before, I kind of like the real painterly brush stroke look on these pots because this terracotta is just so pretty. I mean, really, you don't even need to carve into this because it's just such a nice contrast with the two colors here.
Does that color change when it's fired?
So this is called snowflake. So it's like a gently used snow. So it's a little bit more
Gently
used.
You
Well, I didn't want to say like
snowballs.
I didn't want to say dogs were involved or anything. It's not like that. It's just a little bit more of like a off-white.
You could call it eggshell.
Yeah, eggshell. Thank you. That's what it's called. The roundabout way of saying eggshell. Okay. So this is how you would apply the underglaze and then let it dry. And then, so this has dried for a little bit, as I said, and I think I have some loop tools here. 3 minutes? Oh my gosh. I wish I could zoom in or something, but what's really fun about this is taking away some of this underglaze.
The technique has a funny name, doesn't it?
It does, thank you. It's called sgraffito. So, yeah, we're taking away some of this clay here and carving away this top layer. Some people choose to apply multiple layers.
Comes in all different colors.
It comes in all different colors too.
There's a sistering technique where you put colored paper over it. It's called graffito. When you draw into it, it does the opposite.
No. Thank you. So Erin just pulled a handle for us. I don't know if you could see that. So what we like to do after a handle has been pulled, and there's so many different techniques on how to make a handle. So what we would want to do, because this is very wet and tacky still, we'd let it set up like this, how she rested on our wheel head here. And then you would grab your mug. This is a giant mug. 2 minutes. All right, so you grab your mug. You want this to be the same consistent or same dryness as your handle. And then we could apply it to the mug. Then you want to slow dry it so that the handle does not have any cracks or crack off or anything. You want it to dry at the same rate.
Is it just sticky, the clay itself, so when you push it together, it stays together?
So what we like to, some cases you can get by with that, but you want to make sure you score and slip the on. So I'll just show you actually, this will be a really good visual. So you want to do what's called cross hatching or scoring. So you rough up the surface like that, and then rough up the surface on your handle, and then attach the handle so it actually stays on. It's like,
Oh, so
like a Velcro kind of.
so the slit gets in between all the lines and that.
Yep,
Cool.
yep. Yeah, so then both sides kind of like it'll bond together. It's like the glue of clay. Oh, okay. We got to wrap it up here. I'm glad you guys joined us in the clay studio. We have other videos on online that you can watch, and please just keep commenting. We'll answer your comments and tune into the rest of this our Super Saturday. We're here till 4, and you can also view the content after that. And coming up next, if you'd like to join Guy Lewis on a Zoom party, you just go to our Facebook page or our website and click the link to join. Get all the kids involved. You're going to be singing and dancing and having a great time. And thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I guess you had that covered.
Aaron,
Thank you, Deanna and Aaron too.
sit down 1 second, let me get a picture for you. You guys should put your mask on.
Oh, forgot about that.
Practice safety, Pete.
All right, Facebook is ended.
Will they stop the Zoom? Or the, whatever?